if you are still struggling with what makeup brush to use for which step of your routine, you are not dumb. People online just overcomplicate it so much. In a lot of videos explaining makeup brushes, they'll show you which brush to use for which product, and then you're sitting there trying to memorize, and that's just not going to cut it, because if your product is different to the one they're using, if it's a different finish, different texture, that brush will no longer apply. You don't need more recommendations, you just need a simple formula. So I'm going to teach you 3 really simple rules that will tell you which brush to use for which product every single time without having to memorize a list of brushes. You'll just know which brush to use, okay? You won't have to watch any other makeup brush videos. Hi guys, welcome back to Star Super Spa. Today we have a really exciting video on makeup brushes. For the past few years, you guys have been begging for this video, and I've tried to give you little tips throughout my other videos, but you still want a main video all about makeup brushes. So we're gonna break it down to be super simple so you never have to watch another makeup brush video ever again. I want to start off my video with lighting a little candle because I went to a diptyque event yesterday, and I thought, what a fun way to do a little intro and set the mood with a little candle. This is a diptyque citronelle, I think that's how you say it. It smells like really fresh, summery, citrusy, and my little drink is a water because you got to stay hydrated in the summer heat in Hong Kong especially. Okay, let's just jump into it. The first rule is density. So what you need to know about density is that it influences coverage. So density is coverage. Now, the more dense your brush, the more coverage it's going to give you. So dense brushes are for when you want more coverage, when you want more pigment on your face. So things like foundation and concealer, great to use dense brushes for. Fluffy brushes, on the other hand, will create a more diffused finish when you apply them. So for example, blush and bronzer, you want to be more diffused rather than just packing it on your face like you would do with a foundation or concealer. And then if you have something more in the middle, something in the middle is like perfect for contour. So rule of thumb for rule number 1 is the denser the brush, the heavier the result. Moving on to rule number 2, which is going to be shape. So when you think shape, you want to think control. So if density equals coverage, shape equals control. So what's going to give you the most control is something tapered or angled, which comes to a type of point, because more tapered and more angled brushes are going to give you more precise application. So that's great for like an eyeliner brush or even a contour where you want it to be more precise, especially nose contour. So all these things require precision, which means you want more of a tapered or angled brush. On the other hand, round or domed brushes will give you less control, but will give you more diffusion, perfect for blush or highlight or just a wash of pigment on your eyes. And then you have flat brushes, which are best for packing on product in a way that it's going to show up best. So something where you want a lot of pigment, if you want a lot of power. So for like glitter, concealer, even foundation, and these brushes tend to be more dense as well. So it's really like the combination of the density and the flatness is really going to pack on a product in a full coverage way. So you can kind of see how these rules already come together to inform you what type of brush you want to use for what type of makeup product. So a little hack you can keep in mind when it comes to shape is that the shape of the brush kind of reflects how it's going to look on your face when you use a product with it. So a rounder brush will make it look more diffused on your face, and a more pointy or angled tapered brush will make it look more sharp on your face. Moving on to rule number 3 is your fiber type. So you have synthetic blends, which feel very smooth when you touch them, and those are best for liquids and creams because they don't really absorb much product. So they're just gonna pick up the product, and when you put it on your face, it's gonna hopefully really nicely lay that product down onto your face. And because they don't absorb much product, they give you a really smooth application, which is ideal for cream and liquid product. When it comes to natural bristles, which are more textured, these are good for powders because they grip onto the powders and they're more like porous, more textured, so they hold on to the product and can really help you diffuse them better rather than just like put powder on there, because you want to usually diffuse powder. And the softer the natural bristle, usually the softer blend it will give you. And then you also do have hybrid blends which combine both type of bristles, which are actually really common now in a lot of like good quality brushes, but I would recommend them more for powder rather than creams and liquids. So the fiber type depends on the formula. So the rule of thumb for fiber type is usually synthetic is good for cream and natural is good for powders, and then a blend is better for powders but can potentially work with creams depending on the blend. Now let's quickly touch on sponges. Sponges are not personally my go-to and are not usually go-tos for especially practicing makeup artists who do makeup on others, mostly due to hygiene reasons and control. So sponges are best for when you want a skin-like finish with your product. Because of the way it presses the product into the skin, it can make it look really natural, and also because sponges absorb a lot of the product that you put on them, it will give you less on your face, making it therefore look more natural. They're also great for if you've gone too far with your makeup. If you have really like cakey spots, you can use a sponge to absorb some of the product on your face, or if you just want to blend everything together in the end just to make it more seamless sometimes. But keep in mind that sponges are best for cream and liquid products. You don't really want to use them for powders because they'll apply really patchily, and you can use them sometimes for baking. Personally, I would use a different type of sponge. And if you are using a sponge, you want to make sure if it's a beauty blender that you're wetting it really, really thoroughly and then squeezing out the water really, really thoroughly, because you want it to be fully wet, really bouncy, really soft, but you don't want any type of water sitting on the surface of that sponge. If you want to test if you have any water sitting on the surface, you can just put it on your arm and feel, is this wet? And if it's wet, you haven't squeezed it out enough. You can use a paper towel or just a normal towel. That will really help dry it out a little bit, but will make sure the sponge is nice and ready. Now, with all that said, that is the reason I hate beauty blenders, because they can get fungus really easily, especially if you store them anywhere inside something. The fungus is so much more likely to grow. It can be invisible. I mean, how many people wash their beauty blenders almost every couple days and then leave it outside to dry? I don't know. If that's your thing, you do that. But this is great timing for me to make this video because I recently have made friends with this lovely makeup artist who has her own beauty blender line. It's Wish Beauty. I love it. And this is biodegradable, so no waste, and you don't have to wet it. You can use it without having to worry about fungus, and then you can throw it away without having to worry about the environment. So best of both worlds. Now that you understand all these rules and are a makeup brush expert, you can now break them, because when you understand the rules of something, that's when you can break them with intention and with the knowledge required to do it in the best way. You know, if you're breaking the rules without knowing the rules, you don't know what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and what you could be doing better. And remember, you don't need more brushes, you just need to know how to use them. So send this to your friends who are also very confused by makeup brushes, and let me know in the comments if this was helpful. And if this was helpful, please subscribe, because I have a lot more videos like this to uncomplicate your makeup and make you fall in love with makeup rather than have it being stressful. And remember, you don't need more tools, you just need to understand them better. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.